Have you ever wondered why Isaac, not Ishmael, became the heir to Abraham's covenant? It's a story that goes far beyond a simple family rivalry. In fact, it's one of the most foundational narratives in the Bible, shaping the destiny of nations and echoing through history right up to our present day. Let's take a deep dive into the incredible story of Isaac and uncover why he was the chosen one. The story really begins with a promise. God promised Abraham, then called Abram, that he would be the father of a great nation, with descendants as numerous as the stars. But there was a problem. Abraham and his wife Sarah were old, well past the age of having children. It seemed impossible. Year after year, they waited, and still, no child. In a moment of human doubt, Sarah suggested Abraham have a child with her servant Hagar. This led to the birth of Ishmael. Now, according to the customs of the time, Ishmael was Abraham's firstborn son and the natural heir. He was the son of Abraham, and God even promised to bless him and make him a great nation. But he was not the son of the promise. God's plan was always something more, something miraculous that would show his power and faithfulness. 14 years after Ishmael was born, when Abraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90, God did the impossible. He fulfilled his promise, and Sarah gave birth to Isaac. The very name Isaac means he laughs. It's a name born from both the doubtful laughter of Sarah when she first heard she would have a son in her old age, and the joyful laughter that filled their home when the promise finally came true. Isaac's birth wasn't just a happy family event, it was a divine sign. It shouted to the world that this lineage was not established by human effort or natural means, but by God's direct intervention. Isaac was the miracle child, a living symbol of God's faithfulness to his word, no matter how impossible the circumstances. This distinction between Isaac and Ishmael is crucial. Ishmael was born of human planning while Isaac was born of divine promise. This is why the covenant, the sacred agreement between God and Abraham, was passed down through Isaac. He represented the spiritual line, the one chosen by God to carry the promises of land, descendants, and divine presence. One of the most dramatic and profound moments in this story is the binding of Isaac. You know the account. God tests Abraham's faith by asking him to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac on Mount Moriah. It's a heart-wrenching command. Imagine Abraham's turmoil. This was the son he had waited a lifetime for, the very child through whom God's promises were supposed to be fulfilled. Yet Abraham obeyed. He traveled for 3 days, built the altar, and prepared to do what God had asked. Isaac, in this moment, is not just a passive victim. He's old enough to carry the wood for the sacrifice and to ask his father where is the lamb for the burnt offering. His quiet trust and submission to his father mirror Abraham's own obedience to God. It's a powerful picture of faith. Of course, at the last moment, an angel of the Lord intervenes, and a ram is provided instead. This event didn't just test Abraham, it consecrated Isaac. It demonstrated that this lineage was built on a foundation of absolute faith and obedience to God's will, solidifying Isaac's role as the rightful heir of the covenant. As Isaac grew, he became a man of peace and prosperity, but not without his own challenges. There was a famine in the land, and Isaac was tempted to go down to Egypt, just as his father had. But God appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. I will be with you and will bless you." Isaac obeyed. He stayed in Gerar, in the land of the Philistines. And what happened? The Bible tells us he planted crops, and in that same year reaped 100-fold, because the Lord blessed him. He became very wealthy, with flocks and herds and a great household. This wasn't just luck. It was a direct fulfillment of the covenant promises. His prosperity was a tangible sign of God's favor, showing that obedience to God's word leads to blessing. Isaac's life demonstrated that the covenant wasn't just a future hope. It had real-world implications for those who walked in faith. One of the most significant moments in Isaac's later life was when he passed on the blessing to his sons, Jacob and Esau. In the ancient world, a father's blessing was not just a nice sentiment. It was a legally and spiritually binding declaration that determined a son's inheritance, authority, and future destiny. It was a high honor, often containing prophetic insights that would shape the lives of generations to come. To lose a father's blessing was considered a devastating loss, almost like a curse. We all know the story of how Jacob, with his mother's help, deceived his blind father Isaac to receive the blessing meant for his older brother, Esau. When Isaac blessed Jacob, he said, "May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you." This wasn't just a wish for good fortune. It was a prophetic transfer of the Abrahamic covenant. Through this blessing, Isaac passed on the authority and the divine promise to Jacob, ensuring the continuity of the chosen line. He was the bridge, connecting the promises given to his father, Abraham, to the future 12 tribes of Israel that would descend from his son, Jacob. So, when we look at the two brothers, Isaac and Ishmael, their legacies branch out in very different directions. Isaac's descendants, through Jacob, became the nation of Israel, God's chosen people, through whom the Messiah would eventually come. Ishmael's legacy is different but also significant. He and his descendants, the Ishmaelites, became the ancestors of many of the Arab peoples. The Bible tells us that an angel foretold that Ishmael would be a wild donkey of a man, and that he would live in hostility toward all his brothers. Sadly, this prophecy has played out over centuries. The historical conflicts between the descendants of Isaac, the Jews, and the descendants of Ishmael, the Arabs, are often described as the world's longest-running family feud. These deep-seated tensions over land, heritage, and divine favor continue to shape geopolitical dynamics in the Middle East today. However, the story doesn't end entirely in conflict. There's a subtle but beautiful moment of reconciliation. When Abraham dies, the Bible tells us that his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him. They came together to honor their father. For Ishmael to be there, standing beside Isaac, suggests a profound change in his heart. It shows his acceptance of Isaac's primary role and a degree of spiritual maturity and humility. By participating in the burial, Ishmael acknowledged the family structure and Isaac's place as the heir. This small detail offers a glimmer of hope, a theme of reconciliation that runs alongside the conflict. Ultimately, Isaac's story is a testament to faith, promise, and divine faithfulness. He wasn't a conqueror like David or a lawgiver like Moses. His life was quieter, marked by stability and continuity. He was the vital link in the chain of the covenant. His miraculous birth proved God's power. His near sacrifice demonstrated the depth of faith required. His prosperity showed the rewards of obedience, and his blessing of Jacob ensured the promise would continue. Isaac's life teaches us that God's plans unfold in his time and in his way, often through means we don't expect. He is the quiet patriarch who ensures that the promise given to Abraham doesn't falter, but passes securely to the next generation, setting the stage for the entire epic of Israel, and ultimately, the story of redemption for all humanity. His legacy is not just about one man, but about God's unwavering commitment to his promises. Thanks for watching. If you found this exploration meaningful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. See you next time.